citizens of YouTube land.
Hey.
It's your president and your VP. And we know that a significant portion of our audience, of our viewing audience, happens to belong to the LGBTQ community. So, in response to that, and in an effort to help bring awareness to the topics of that, and to celebrate Pride Month, because it is Pride Month, we decided we were going to do Monster.
Yep. And
Hi,
I bet
everybody.
a special shout out from the First Lady there. Anyways, I bet you're all wondering, but Denny and Son, how does this portray to Pride Month? Well, the main the main character was in a lesbian relationship, even though she was a serial killer.
Yeah. So, this movie was directed by Patty Jenkins. It stars Charlize Theron as Eileen Wuornos and Christina Ricci as Selby, who is a semi-fictionalized version of Eileen's
Eileen's
real life girlfriend.
Yeah.
This
Nice.
movie was made, I'm going to say, for around $8 million. It says either 1.5 or 8 million. I'm going to go with the latter of
I
8
think
million.
it looks too professional to be made for 1.5 million, to be honest.
It made $64.2 million worldwide. Currently, for those of you who care,
I do believe I know the reason why it made so much money like that. And it comes and it stems down from the fact that this film was released a year after Eileen's execution.
yes, it premiered December 24th, 2003 here in the United States. It had an earlier release at a film festival back in November of that
it made
year.
its world premiere at the AFI Film Festival on November 23rd, 2003.
It is also was selected by the American Film Institute as part of its top 10 films of 2003. And for those of you who care about those kind of things, it currently has an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And also the Roger Ebert, the greatest film critic of all time that we hope to become one day. He actually said that it was the best film of the year.
Yeah, but you can't always go by what he thinks. We try to give more of the uh, audience's perspective in our reviews.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. Charlize, who, as we discussed, is playing the part of Eileen Wuornos. Oh, quick mention: she gained 30 pounds for the role, shaved her eyebrows, and wore prosthetic teeth. So there's that. But
The film opens up on a kind of a depressing note because you see Eileen in the underneath a bridge in the rain with a gun, and it seems like that she's about to take her own life.
yeah,
And then she says, "Nah, I gotta spend this $5 real quick first." And then that's when she meets
because
Selby.
I had to do something that, well, you'll just have to watch the movie, but she had to do something pretty nasty in order to get that in the first place. But we'll get into that too. So she is at a bar now, and it happens to be a, well, gay bar, and that's when she meets Selby, because she had basically told God, "Hey, if you got some plans for me, you better do it now because I'm getting ready to leave this world and whatnot." And so she meets Selby, and at first she's very resistant to Selby because she doesn't want her to think that she's, you know, so she
a
rejects.
lesbian,
Yeah,
but she calls her something else.
yeah,
It's a slur for
it's a
lesbian.
derogatory term
Yeah.
that we don't use on this channel because we never would.
No.
So she meets Selby, and they have a good time, and they close down the bar, in fact. And so then they decide they're going to go home, and Selby is currently living with some like ultra conservative relatives because she had been sent down there because she had supposedly put the moves on another girl, and she was freaked out about it. Don't know how true that actually
at
was,
church.
but yeah. So that happened, and so she was sent down to Florida, and that's where she had met her, and her relatives meet Eileen briefly, and of course they're very taken back by her disheveled, grisly, nasty appearance. I'm just calling it how it is.
Yeah.
That's how she looks, guys. I'm not saying that she was that in real life by no means. So because of
Well, I
that,
mean, let's talk about that real quick. If you pull up a photo of Eileen Wuornos, and then you pull up a photo of Charlize in the role, they look exactly identical.
they do.
Like, it's scary.
Like it's very uncanny
It's very
how
scary.
close she got to the look.
Yeah.
So she decides that she uh, she's going to meet up with Selby a little bit later on because they decide they're going to meet up again, and they're going to meet up
And
at
they
like
do.
this disco. And so they have a good time, and then they make arrangements to meet up again.
But first, let's talk about the scene where they have.
I'm about to.
No, Don't Stop Believing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So they're at the disco. Well, they're at the roller rink, and Selby can't really dance or have a good time or skate. So Eileen's like, "Hey, I'll show you how." And so they start moving to the music, and then they have a really good time. And "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey is playing, and
Which I think is actually the perfect song for them to use in this context because the song "Don't Stop Believing" is about finding love in the darkness, and you don't stop believing until you find it.
so they're going to meet up again, but she needs some money first. Eileen does. So what does she do? Well,
she's a woman of the night. Let's just say that.
Yeah, she belongs to the world's oldest profession, guys, which is, well, probably second oldest. The oldest is probably farming, but
Probably.
yeah. Uh, so she turns to the world's oldest profession, and she meets up with this man. Only this man doesn't really have the same kind of interest at heart. She tries to close the deal, so to speak, by offering a service, and he rejects that service because he wants something else entirely. And then things turn very violent. Can't really describe exactly what happens. All I can say is that it turns very violent, and then Eileen does a bang bang on the man, and he is no longer with us.
Yeah, and this is her first victim. But to be honest, you could probably argue this as self-defense. And after this,
Oh, very much so.
And after this, she probably should have went to the police. But because of her look, they probably wouldn't believed her.
And because of her criminal history, because so she's gotten some money, and she shows up, but she's late, and she explains that she was attacked and this and that, and so Selby, she believes her and everything, and she wants to go straight now, but she can't because of the way she looks and the fact that she has no job skills and no future and no hope and just a general sense of despair. The movie is very good at making you feel like, oh my goodness, how can things get any worse, so to speak? And the one thing you really have to realize about the performance and Eileen in general is that, and my perspective, and like I said, because first one, yes, we can understand this. She does it again, unfortunately, and this could possibly be attributed to PTSD.
Yeah. But then later on, it comes to the point where it's like it's not even PTSD driving it anymore. She's just doing it to kill. She's starting to enjoy it after a while.
Yeah, and so things are escalating very quickly. Selby, who might I add, okay, knows about all these things that are happening.
Yeah,
and she basically has guilt tripped her into going back and doing the things that she needed to do to get money in the first place. Basically, like, oh, who's going to take care of me? Blah, blah, blah. Whine, whine, whine. Poor me. Woe is me. And guys, I really, really cannot stand people who are like that.
And then the film starts to ask the question because she finds out that she's been killing and stuff. then the film starts to ask the question, who's the real monster? Is it Eileen or is it Selby? Obviously, it's Eileen, but still, you kind of have to ask yourself the question: is it the person who's actually killing, or is it the person who's instigating and supporting the killing?
So they're driving a car that she had procured from one of her victims. Let's just call it what it is. And Selby's driving, and they have a car accident. And because it is basically a stolen vehicle, they flee the scene of the crime. This, unfortunately, is the beginning of the downfall of Eileen Wuornos.
Yeah.
Uh, they have to leave in a hurry, and the elderly couple takes notice of who they are when they come outside and everything. And so Eileen thinks that she's home clear, that the Florida State Police don't have anything on her. That is not the case. They had never stopped from the whole time, from the very first victim onwards. They had never stopped. And they get into this big argument to Selby and Eileen. And Eileen basically, Selby tells Eileen, hey, you can't do this to these people. And she basically just replies very coldly, why? Why not? Why can't I do it? And she goes into the speech about how the world is a messed up place and it's full of evil intentions and this and that, and that Selby will never know that kind of lifestyle. And this is true. Now, she gets very freaked out, does Selby. And in the end, when she's sent back to Pennsylvania, the Florida police, they go up to her and they basically railroad her in a way. But I also think that she does this to save her own skin as well, because she's granted full immunity. And they pick Eileen up, and I should also mention that we had talked about how we didn't feel sympathy, and I know that a lot of people have probably seen the Netflix documentary, and how one person even said, I know that this is wrong, but man, did these guys seem to deserve it. Well, let me stop right there. Nobody asked for their life to be ended, no matter what their, intentions are. They don't really ask for that. And the reason why I bring this up entirely is because the last victim is
Oh man,
an
yeah.
unfortunate case.
This is a rough one.
Because she attempts to sell her services to him. And the man's not really having any of it. He's just a good natured Christian man. And he tells her flat out, listen, you can come home, you can get a shower, you can use my son's room. He's not here, he won't even miss it. My wife won't mind. And I'm thinking the whole time, if this had happened a year earlier, 2 years earlier, 5 years earlier, 10 years earlier, whatever the case had been, if somebody, anybody, had bothered to reach out to her and say, hey, you look like you need a helping hand. If somebody, anybody had done this, had taken the time, not to just discard her as a piece of trash like so many people had, but if anybody had managed to do that, then this could have turned out differently. So, as I said, he offers her these things and says that, we can do this and we can do that and we can do this. And then her bang bang falls out. And that's the point of no return for Eileen, because there's no other choice. Even though the man is telling her the whole time, you don't have to do this. We can work through this. Here's my car, just take it. She doesn't have to do it, but she does it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's,
Their final victim.
the first couple, you can agree, you can sympathize, but then after that, it's like there was no reason for it.
And when she kills that last man, there's this really cool shot actually of the smoke, because she's smoking a cigarette. The smoke is illuminating off of her like she's not even human anymore, and it's a really cool shot. And the cinematography is also really good as well. Like the grimy type feel you see in it, like that grimy type of like 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter type of uh, you know
It's
that
almost like a very grainy feel too, like
yeah.
they're like the director intentionally put some kind of filter over the lens, or who knows. But he is correct. And so they've gotten a hold of Selby, and they get her down here, and they have her in a motel room, and Eileen knows what's what.
Eileen knows that they're listening in, so
So she guilt trips her into confessing to all of it. And so in the end, she is in the courthouse and she yells profanities at the judge and is taken away. And unfortunately, the movie states, and this is true, that she was executed by lethal injection in 2002. It's an unfortunate, sad circumstances. Now, let's get into the acting. We went over the story here, so let's go over the acting a bit. Charlize is phenomenal in the role.
yeah.
Just absolutely absorbed into who Eileen Wuornos was.
This may be one of her best performances.
Quite possibly the best performance of Charlize's lifetime. And dare I say, one of the greatest performances in film history
Yeah.
because of how she was able to do things. Now, Christina is no slouch either. She's
Yeah.
bringing her A game in this film too, conveying this vulnerable yet manipulative at the same time personality.
Yeah.
And and fun fact for those of you who might not know, Kane Hodder has a cameo appearance
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end of the movie as one of the bikers. Now, Kane Hodder, as some of you might know, is the only man to have done Jason Voorhees in multiple films. So there's that. There's that little fun fact, that little trivia tidbit, if you will. Also, it's because of Monster that Patty Jenkins was able to direct one. I think it was Wonder Woman, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was the director of Wonder Woman, and that was like a film that just blew up in popularity, and like it was like a big thing for women and all that.
But
That's actually really cool.
it was because of Monster that she got that film. So yeah, guys. And the music overall. He mentioned Journey. There's also a little REO Speedwagon. We got the
Oh,
early,
yeah.
the late 70s, early 80s type of vibe in a way, even though it's actually late 80s.
It's set in the mid '90s, actually, or no, it's set in the early '90s because her spree was from '89 to '90.
Yeah. You got that good soundtrack as we talked about, and the whole thing is just a very, very fun experience.
I'd say she's probably as good as like David Arquette as the Happy Face
It's
Killer,
very,
and Zac Efron as Ted Bundy.
yeah, those are good performances too, guys.
I'd say she's right up there with those.
As far as all that goes, and the cinematography and the story, it works very well. I don't believe that because of course they changed the name of her girlfriend, and they changed the name of the first victim.
And all actually they changed the name of all the victims.
Yeah, so they kind of had to because they, people wanted to sympathize with Eileen, and we did to a degree, but in the end, we saw that she really was a monster from the word go. So I will give this one 5 out of 5. What say you?
Also a 5 out of 5. It's a really great film, guys. If you haven't, you need to check it out. You can find it on Tubi, Netflix, Pluto, DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, if you're a dinosaur like this guy.
Yeah, right. Also, DVD, Blu-ray.
I already said that.
4K. You can find it all over the place. It's available all over. Go out if you haven't watched it, or even if you've seen it and need a refresher, go out and check it out again. Very fun. Well, not very fun, but it's a very
good crime drama.
It will leave you kind of shaken too.
Yeah.
If you have a heart and a soul, it's going to impact you a bit. But of course, as always, if you've seen Monster and think that it is the worst crime biopic of all time,
Clearly, you've never seen Gacy.
Yeah, yeah, 2002 version, which is kind of an ironic twist. Maybe we'll get to that someday. It's not too bad, but it's definitely on the worst scale. But we're getting off topic again. But hey, just remember, we're
We're
just two idiots with a digital camera. Our opinions do not matter, except they actually do, because we have a YouTube show, except they actually don't. So, guys, having said all that, fathers out there, next up on our itinerary is going to be the Rifleman. So stay tuned for that because I can't wait to talk about that one. It's going to be a great, great time. And then we've got some other projects. We've still got the big one. I know we've been talking about it. It is coming. Can't say what it is, but it is coming, guys. It's going to be great. Check it out when it comes out.
Yep. Can't wait. Can't wait for that. All right. So,
Nothing more left to say except peace and love from Denny and Son. Bye.